Hello, everyone. This is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind, and today I'm going to be kind of visiting the question about what's the difference between aliens and star beings. I don't know if you've ever been curious about that, and I probably have never been curious about that. But these last several years, I've had experiences that I can no longer deny. So I'm going to share some of those experiences with you in this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between what we call aliens, such as the Greys, to star beings that can be the Sirians or Pleiadians or Lyrans. So we'll talk a little bit about those. I am far from being an expert, but I do have personal experience to share with you, and hopefully you will walk away with a little bit more information than you have now. I have lots of notes, so you're going to see me looking down at my notes once in a while. But the reason why I decided to make this talk is because at the time that you may be listening to this, I am going to be in Utah, in the Uinta Basin in Vernal, Utah, where I will be attending Phenomenon, because that's where Skinwalker Ranch is, and that's where Blind Frog Ranch is. And so they're going to be having a big conference that I'm going to be attending. So my mother and I attended last year, and I don't know what I expected to find. I've never done anything like that before. But I will tell you, I was in the middle of some incredibly scientifically minded people, highly intelligent, highly educated. I learned things that I didn't even know existed, and I know that I'm going to learn even more. However, I have been working as a full-time psychic clairvoyant. I teach psychic mastery are my educational programs that I teach. So I've been at this for a long time. And as a clairvoyant, someone who can see into several dimensions at the same time, I can tell you I've seen things that defy human logic. And I haven't shared any of this stuff. So in some ways, this is kind of like my little coming out party. All right, so the phenomena of extraterrestrial beings, termed aliens or star beings, is often used to kind of describe anything extraterrestrial, or as I would say, anything that would be a non-human. And the conversations around this are quite broad, they can overlap, and that's where I found myself. I was just like, well, are there good guys and bad guys? Are they good ETs or not good ETs? Are star beings good or not good? And so, kind of in my little pea brain, human mind, I had those questions. And so, maybe we can just cover a little bit of that today. However, it's still considered in some places to be kind of a pseudoscience, but we've been having, our government is getting highly involved now. So we're going to be expecting to see some big, what has been hidden will be revealed. So big revelations over maybe even in the next year. Things are rapidly ramping up when it comes to these types of conversations. So I don't think that we can continue to deny the existence. So I'm sharing my visitation because I've had experience with star beings, I've had experience with the Greys, and I've had experience with reptilians. So those are the three categories of a story that I can refer to here. But let me just first talk a little bit about, especially if there's any of you who've never heard this stuff before, you've only heard me as a registered nurse talk about just how expansive and how important the health of your human energy field is, how it applies to your physical body and your health, how does it apply to anxiety and depression and panic attacks. And so that is the bulk of what I talk about. But in 2017, I had a visitation from the star beings. And so they are moving quite rapidly into what I would say the center stage of my consciousness, and how those relationships with different extraterrestrial type beings can impact us at that human level. So let's kind of get into this. So, what the beings first and foremost said to me is the star beings. Let me just tell you who the star beings, how the star beings are communicating this. So, I will tell you that I don't channel beings. That means, their information that comes through, and they're using my capacity to communicate. They're using that to communicate to you. For me, it is a purely telepathic communication. They have a mental thought, I pick up the mental thought, then I respond with a question mentally. So that's how I communicate with them. So what they said was, we are one of many non-human forms that share the universal galaxies with you. That's the bottom line. We are one of many non-human forms that share a universal galaxy with you. Just like they're saying, just like there's many different spiritual beings that can work within your human earthly solar system, there are many forms of these non-human extraterrestrials that function outside of our solar system. So there are beings that, like our spiritual beings, that work within our solar system, and then there are many other beings that work outside of our solar system. They said, as a human, you're able to travel within your solar system to the moon. You're able to land equipment on Mars. Your form is limited about how far you can travel beyond your own solar system. So this is their way of kind of describing or delineating kind of what the difference is. And then they went on to say there are other galactic beings, and that's what they kind of call themselves, galactic beings, that can travel from their galaxy to our solar system, but they may not have the genetic makeup to travel to other galaxies. So they can travel to our solar system, they can travel within our galaxy, but they may not be able to travel outside of our galaxy, or as they said, outside the Milky Way. And then they said there are other galactic beings who are much more advanced, very far advanced genetically, they said, and have the capacity to travel to many, many, many galaxies far outside of our solar system, our galaxy, and they can travel far out into the universe. So that's kind of how they kind of describe the range of different beings that are non-human in other realms. So on Earth, they said, for example, you as humans on Earth, you have spirit guides that can assist you in limited ways within a range of dimensions. So a narrow range of dimensions. They said your grandmothers and grandfathers would fall within this range. So for those of you who call upon your grandmothers and grandfathers to support you and help you, or your parents, or other loved ones on the other side, they can work within a certain dimensional range. They said you may have animal spirits, your animals that have crossed over on the other side, your animal spirits want to come back and assist you and to comfort you, but they too have a limited range of knowledge and dimensions that they can travel in that support. Then they went on to say, so these are the blue celestial star beings that I was communicating with when I made my notes. So then they said, ascended masters such as Jesus, Mother Mary, Shiva, the archangels, have the power to support you with a higher range of abilities, which means that they have the capacity to go beyond the beyond, to dimensional realms that we don't even have the possibility to conceive of. And so they can travel amongst all those dimensional forms, and they can assist us with a wider range of guidance, love, wisdom, and knowledge. So that's how they're explaining it to me. So what they said was it's very similar in the beings that are galactic in nature, that you can have a narrow range, that they can have a narrow range that they can travel in, and they can have a wider range that they can travel in. And so this kind of ends that conversation that I had with the blue beings of light. So I would like to now just kind of briefly explain about aliens and star beings to give you a little bit more knowledge. All right. So extraterrestrial is the concept that there is life outside of our orbit, outside of our atmosphere. And these life forms, these kind of extraterrestrial life forms, can come in the form of simple microbes all the way to highly advanced technological intelligent beings. Okay, so there's this wide range there. This UFO phenomena, this popular culture claims of encounters of spacecraft piloted by other beings from other planets. These are often just in general, not specific in general, called aliens. So there are the beings called the Greys. And so those are a particular form that have this kind of limited capacity about how far they can travel. This is what I was told by the star beings. So they can definitely go to other galaxies. They can't go to all galaxies. They are highly intelligent. They're very telepathic. They kind of, if we could say, the ability of prophecy, almost like they know what's going to happen before we know. And so they may try to intervene for the safety on Earth. I don't know. All I can tell you is, and I'll share a few stories, but when I was at Skinwalker, in the Uinta Basin last year, I was able to see a video that has not been released yet out into the larger community, but I was able to see, and they were able to expand it, and I could see one of the Greys through as a little window in the spaceship. All I could tell you is I had to see it several times, and my brain still would not let me take it in. But it's very, very, very real on these higher consciousness levels, and we can no longer deny, I don't think, that it could be in our very near future over the next few years that we may be, that this may be illuminated a bit more about their existence. Okay, so the Greys, they are depicted as small gray-skinned beings with large heads and large dark eyes. The Greys are most associated with the abduction stories that we have heard about. Maybe we've read about it. Maybe they've had those awarenesses during being hypnotized, and they all describe them with the large head and the large eyes. And I've had an experience with them, so I'll share that in a bit. Then there are what's called the Reptilians, are described as a reptile type feature. They are often portrayed as malevolent and secretive. Yes, I have seen a reptilian a couple of times, so I will describe them as well. There was a movie, I can't remember the movie that was about, but they were reptilians, and they look very much like that. They're tall beings, 6-7 foot tall. So again, we can know those as malevolent. There are Nordic beings, which is quite interesting because I don't really count them in the alien category, but they are very tall. They're blonde. They have human features. They are more associated with positive interactions with humans. And then there are the kind of the ant people or the mantis people, but they kind of look like insects. They are described and they have advanced telepathic abilities, and they can work much more within the realm of Earth, but they also can transport to other dimensions, other galaxies. So let me just talk a moment about the star beings, because this is who's been coming through. The blue beings of light have been coming through to me since 2017. So we want to talk about descriptions of the Lyrans, Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Sirian star beings. There are many, many other beings, and there's many other YouTube videos where you can find out more information about this. Again, it's not scientifically based, but a lot of the material comes through people who channel these different types of beings, so you can get more information about them. So the Lyran star beings, to me, I kind of know these Lyrans as probably some of the oldest in our galaxy, in our universe. The Arcturians can have more of a human feature. They originate from the Lyra constellation and the star system Vega. So you can look this up a bit more and get more information. They are very peaceful. They are very nurturing. They're very highly, highly spiritual. They have a strong connection to the earth and are considered the ancient ancestors of humanity. So for me, because I work with ancestors and lineages, I will tell you that when I do readings, ancestral readings for people, I will tell you, everybody I've ever read has at least one ancestral line that is of the star ancestors. So meaning that you have ancestors that came from another planet. So, and there are some that have two lines out of the four. So your mother's line, your mother's father's line, your father's line, your father's mother's line. So there are some that I've met that have two. The ones that I have met that have star being, star code, genetics in their DNA, and all four lines, the only ones that I have met that have all four lines are the current indigenous peoples on our earth right now. So they draw a lot of knowledge and wisdom from those very high level star beings. So you will know the Lyrans have a great level of wisdom, compassion, and a deep respect for nature. So they're always helping us in our relationship with nature. All right. So, and their mission here is to help humanity. Arcturians are from the Arcturus star system, which is said to be one of the brightest stars in the northern hemisphere. The Arcturian star beings possessed advanced technology and a strong focus on spiritual growth and enlightenment. The Arcturians are coming through really strongly on the earth right now. They are often will come through teachers and healers. They emphasize the importance of you being self-realized, self-aware, so that you can guide yourself and your inner transformational awakening. So right now, because on earth, we are having such a big, expansive awakening of consciousness, a lot of the star beings are visiting right now in ways that they didn't do before. Their main mission is to help humanity shift towards a more spiritually awakened state. Pleiadians. So there's many, many people that can relate to being from the Pleiadian star beings and the Pleiadian star constellation. And so they come from the Pleiades, and their personality is friendly, loving, emotionally sensitive. They want to help humanity in their spiritual evolution. but they're extremely creative. So if you're finding that you feel like you have a connection to the Pleiades, you're going to be very artistic, art, music, performance, all that type of stuff. And they are all about harmony and balance. So they're still here to help us on Earth. Their mission is to work as spiritual, to help us spiritually guide us. The Syrian star beings. So that I have one ancestral lineage that has star being genetics in that. And so I relate more to the Syrian side, but they are described as highly intelligent, technologically advanced beings. They're really coming to Earth right now to help in the areas of science. They have said that they played a role in the beginning of the Earth's development. And what I know about some of the indigenous peoples, they often will describe coming from the Orion's belt. Many of like the pyramids in Egypt or China and Mexico around the world are aligned with Orion's belt, and that many of the indigenous people may say or find their ancestral lineage connected to the Syrians. They assist in science and in technology. They may be really coming through right now to help us advance in our quantum physics, quantum realities. They are here to help humanity overcome the challenges and obstacles that we're facing right now on the Earth. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it's nice to know that they're here helping. So one of the things that they have shared with me a lot since 2017, so they came in 2017 and they said, what has been hidden is going to be revealed over the next several years, and that truth is going to be illuminated. And that's been their consistent message. And if we just look in the last, since 2017, there's a lot of illusions that have been hidden are now being revealed, and truth is being illuminated. We can look everywhere and we can see that that is true. But even for ourselves, even our own illusions are falling away, and we're really being able to now see the authentic truth of who we truly are and to express that. But they came through to me and they said that there would be 3 big blue light surges that would be happening. So one was in 219, the other surge, 219 was through the pyramids in China, 2021 was through the pyramids in Mexico at Teotihuacan. This third surge is going to be in the American Southwest. And I talk more about that in some of my blog posts and on my blue light page on Facebook. It's called the Blue Light Movement page. So I talk much more about that. But every time the surge comes in, it's bringing in this blue light. It's kind of this fine frequency that comes in that helps us to awaken to those higher states of consciousness. So, all right, kind of told you a little bit about the difference between what we might call the grays, the reptilians, versus the star beings of Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans, Syrians. There's many, many more star beings. So to be specific, the aliens and reptilians may have a limited capacity to travel to the entire edges of the universe, where the star beings are able to travel many more dimensions and can go as far beyond where our imagination can take us. So I have several stories of the grays, but I'm just going to briefly mention one of the stories. And I'm going to be this fine line so that I'm not sharing with you any defining characteristics so that somebody may know who this person is. But I've been a psychic reader for 30 years, working full-time in an office. And so in this one particular time, I'm in my office, I'm preparing for a client, and suddenly through the walls, came the grays. So I'll just call them they're short, they're definitely, I don't even think they were 4 feet tall. They had the large, large dark eyes. They have the large head and the smaller bodies. Now, I was really shocked. I was sitting in my chair and I just was not even quite sure how to respond. But what I want to share with you was I wasn't frightened. Um, I I just didn't know what to say or what to do. And so I asked them telepathically if there was any way that I could help them. Why are they here? And they said, no, that I didn't need to do anything. And then they left. Well, the next thing I know, I go out to the entryway and I'm trying to behave very normally. I go to get my next client. And when they come into the office and they sat down, the grays came back in again. And so I just tried to pretend like I couldn't see them. And I just tried to stay focused to do this reading. Well, the client's question was that the grays have been coming to me for over 20 years now. They are my guides. They guide me. But I'm wondering, am I missing anything? Do they want me to do anything else? And so the grays were with this person. And I just had to say to them, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. They came in to visit and I've never seen their presence before at all. So she works with these grays. I had several sessions with this person and I learned a lot about the grays. They, they were not malevolent. I wouldn't even say though that they were benevolent. I'm not quite sure. They were much more neutral. So I will just say that this person was very comfortable with them working with them. And that's about it. They never came home with me. I've never had a visitation from any of them. And I actually never saw them again, other than just with this person. My experience with reptilians. So reptilians, in my experience, will tend to I see them a lot in politics, so I will just say that, and political platforms. I have seen them with people, so I could be standing in Starbucks, and then suddenly a person will be behind me in line, and suddenly they'll kind of step out, and they will be there, and they're quite tall. They do have lizard-like features, reptilian-type features, and mostly when they pop out, it's almost in this kind of taunting way. Like, I'm here, I see you, I know you can see me, and what are you going to do about it? That's kind of the attitude they have. Do I feel frightened? I feel cautious whenever I see them. So they pop out quite often. So when I say that sometimes I've seen them more often in politics where they will be, or positions of power, they tend to hang out with people who have positions of power. Are they able to influence those positions of power? Well, I will just say that's way above my pay grade. And as a matter of fact, I don't even give it the time of day. I don't even think about it. Why? Because I worked with different dimensional beings long enough to know wherever you put your focus is what's going to grow. It's like, if that's, it's kind of like, if you put your focus on the negative's going to grow. You put your focus on the positive, that's going to grow. But there are a lot of people that know a lot more about reptilians than I do. So you can go ahead and look up YouTube, look up online, and see what you can learn about that. For me, I'm going to wrap this up with the blue beings of light. So I've already told you that they came to visit. I already shared with you the messages that they were given. I have a lot more on my blogs, I have a lot more on the Blue Light Movement page. However, in my entire life, I'd never seen a star being before. And so let me just describe what these Syrian light beings look like. So if you've ever seen the movie Avatar, they look almost like that. But they have a longer kind of nose type feature. It's interesting. sometimes I've kind of described them kind of like a very light, illuminating light, but like a goat type feature or a camel type feature. But they're very tall. I think the shortest one I've ever seen is about 6, 7 feet, but and the tallest I've seen is like 12 to 14 feet. So they're very, very tall. But when I'm talking about like the grays and I talk about seeing the reptilians, they have a denser form, like I can't see through them, but star beings come through in pure light. So these particular star beings come through very luminescent. So I will describe them that way. And the room is filled with this total uplifting peace. And when they're around, it feels like everything's just going to be okay. Now, at first, when they came, I thought, I have no idea why you're here. And did you get the wrong address when you were coming by? And they just explained to me that because I am clairvoyant, I can see several dimensions, that I was more likely to be able to respond to their messages if I could see them than I would if they just came through as a voice in my head. Who knows? Uh, are they the only kind of spiritual beings that I work with? No. I have many guides and things, but it's almost like they've got this huge, huge mission to assist humanity to awaken. So I think I'm going to start to kind of wrap up here, because I don't have, like I said, I'm no expert in this knowledge. I've shared just a little bit about what my personal experiences have been as someone who can see the spirit world at the same time they see the physical world. My mission, my intent for this video was to describe the difference between aliens and describe and star beings as a helicopter is flying overhead, and to just share that I'm going to be going to the conference where the speakers of Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch and many, many scientists are going to be gathering. So I'm going to be learning a lot more, and then hopefully I'll be able to share more with you all. So thanks again for tuning in, and let yourself be curious. Don't be afraid. Just let yourself be curious and do your own exploration, and think of it as a curious adventure, and let yourself be lighthearted and light-minded about the whole thing. All right, everyone, take care, take great care. And I do know that where we're moving, what I do know to be a truth, we can no longer deny how things are unfolding, but I don't know how it's going to unfold. But my sense is it's going to continue to get better and better and better. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.